The real-life situation that inspired our presentation is a review of the play Another World, Losing Our Children to Islamic State. It was performed at the National Theatre in London from April to May and is a kind of theater called verbatim theater that takes transcripts of real interviews, edits them, juxtaposes different speakers against one another, and combines them all into a theatrical experience. The script for Another World was based on journalistic interviews with the families of young Belgian Muslims from the district of Molenbeek in Brussels who had left home to join ISIS. In particular, the play tries to shed light on the reasons why these young men may have become radicalized, and it makes claims that a sense of disconnection from the Western society in which they live and sympathy for their Muslim brethren are powerful factors that cause radicalization.
However, although this play appears to have had a powerful impact on the audience, the fact that it's based on real interviews raised interesting questions for us about the knowledge that this play might have generated, and how that might have been different to the knowledge generated by just the factual transcripts of the interviews themselves. In particular, it made us wonder why someone would go to the effort of putting the information that already exists in journalistic interviews into the format of a play. What would be the point of this? What's the advantage? This led to our knowledge question of whether there is any benefit to be gained by looking at non-artistic knowledge claims through an artistic lens. The burning TOK question here is really whether looking at a knowledge claim from one area of knowledge through the lens of another AOK can bring with it any benefit in terms of the knowledge acquired.
Obviously, there are some key words to define here. The question of what might count as a non-artistic knowledge claim is a contentious one. However, to avoid getting sidetracked into a discussion about what makes something art or not art, we are going to take a fairly standard definition of what it means for something to be a non-artistic knowledge claim. For us, a non-artistic knowledge claim would be something that traditionally falls into the realms of history or the sciences or any other area of knowledge. In the case of our real-life situation, one of the non-artistic claims made is that a reason why young people are radicalized is because they feel disconnected from the society in which they live and they don't share its values. Our definition of an artistic lens is also fairly traditional. For us, looking at something through an artistic lens involves the attempt to use one of the classical forms of art, paintings, film, music, drama, etc., to better understand an issue. We also think it's important to make clear that when we say benefit, this needs to be a benefit that is related to knowledge. Obviously, one of the potential benefits of producing a play is that you might become famous or make money, or both. But these are not relevant benefits in this case.
We believe that this is a significant question, because in a society that tends to value fact and concrete discoveries, it raises the issue of whether the arts can add any value in the search for knowledge. If art does add value, does it help us gain new knowledge, or are we just connecting more powerfully to knowledge that's already out there? And even if that's all it does, is that still a benefit worth having? Finally, if we find that looking at non-artistic knowledge claims through an artistic lens does give considerable added value, then this might help us take the arts a little more seriously as a source of knowledge. It might also give us a better understanding of how, when we are stuck on a problem in one area of knowledge, we might be able to solve that problem by switching lenses and approaching the problem from the perspective of another AOK.
So, in answer to the question of what the benefits might be of looking at non-artistic knowledge claims through an artistic lens, we'd like to begin by looking at a perspective from Drew Barry, who is a biomedical animator at the Walter and Eliza Hall Institute of Medical Research in Melbourne. In his TED Talk, Animations of Unseeable Biology, Barry says, "As a scientist, I used to go to lectures by molecular biologists and find them completely incomprehensible, with all the fancy technical language and jargon that they would use in describing their work. That was until I encountered the artworks of David Goodsell, who is a molecular biologist at the Scripps Institute. In his pictures, everything is accurate and it's all to scale, and his work illuminated for me what the molecular world inside us is like." In this image, which is one of Goodsell's works, you can see the blood cell on the right in red, and the blood plasma on the left in yellowy green. This painting gives us a better understanding of the internal structure of both the blood cell and the blood plasma that it floats in. So, in answer to our question, Barry might respond that one of the benefits of looking at the non-artistic knowledge we have of blood cells through an artistic lens is that it can help us better understand or better grasp that scientific knowledge. It can illuminate non-artistic knowledge claims for us.
So how does this link apply back to our original real-life situation? We believe that the play Another World gives us a better understanding of the attractions that ISIS can hold for young Muslims. In this way, the play illuminates some of the causes of radicalization for us, in the same way that Goodsell's paintings illuminated the nature of blood for Drew Berry. This raises a sub-knowledge question about what it is about art that enables it to give us a better understanding of something, even when all of the information that we are using already exists in different forms. One of the answers seems to be that art helps illuminate knowledge claims because it takes existing perspectives and pieces of information and combines them in new ways. It's this ability to strip away the noise and focus on, emphasize, or highlight only the key features relevant to a given idea or question that enables us to grasp what we couldn't before. One further sub-knowledge question is whether art that is very realistic and didactic in this form is still art. But that's a question that we'll have to leave for another time.
An additional answer to our knowledge question comes from the perspective of Janet Iwasa, who works on the visualization of molecular processes at the University of Utah. In her TED Talk on the role of animation in science, Iwasa says, "Over the years, I found that animations aren't just useful for communicating an idea, but they're also really useful for exploring a hypothesis. The process of creating an animation can act as a catalyst that allows researchers to crystallize and refine their own ideas. One researcher I worked with, who works on the molecular mechanisms of neurodegenerative diseases, came up with experiments that were related directly to the animation that she and I worked on together. And in this way, animation can feed back into the research process." So, in answer to our question, Iwasa says that looking at non-artistic knowledge claims through an artistic lens can help inspire us to ask questions, make connections, and direct research in new ways.
Linking this back to our real-life situation, the play has only just finished its month-long run, and so it's too early for us to tell whether or not Another World will inspire new knowledge. It may also be impossible for us to tell definitively whether or not new knowledge has been created, because the knowledge inspired in the audience member may exist more at the level of personal knowledge than shared knowledge. However, the play certainly does rearrange and selectively juxtapose key sections from interviews with different characters, thereby enabling the audience to make connections between previously disparate sources of information. This may in turn inspire a better understanding of the mechanisms that underlie radicalization. However, one counterclaim that might arise is whether or not it is the artistic nature of this play, and Iwasa's animations, that actually help to inspire new knowledge. Do Iwasa's animations help just because they're better models, rather than because they are something inherently artistic? Is the benefit we are seeing here really just the result of being able to model something really well? In response, we argue that while Iwasa's animations might be successful primarily because they're good models, this doesn't seem to be a criticism that could be applied to the play Another World. The play clearly isn't a model in any conventional sense. Indeed, from the perspective of a natural scientist, it may even be a bad model, because there are no rules or clear guidelines about scale, time frame, or what is being represented and how. Instead, the play appears to be successful at creating knowledge precisely because it breaks the rules of conventional modeling. It is the artist's freedom to take liberties with the truth, to collapse timeframes, to juxtapose things that didn't happen consecutively that is what enables Another World to inspire new questions and new knowledge claims in the audience. And it only does these things because it's a play, because it's art.
So in conclusion, this presentation has shown us that there are at least two clear benefits to be gained from looking at non-artistic knowledge claims through an artistic lens. The first of these is that by switching lenses in this way, we can help develop a better understanding of something we may not have grasped in its original form. We can see this in the case of Another World, which may have helped audience members develop a better understanding of the causes of radicalization. Although this information may already have existed in the journalistic literature, or at some implicit level in the minds of the audience, the play highlights the importance of alienation and sympathy as causes for radicalization, and gives them a focus, power, and clarity that they did not have before. The second benefit comes about because artists are free to break the normal rules of time, space, and logic, which makes it possible for them to draw connections between previously disconnected pieces of evidence and thus inspire the creation of new knowledge. This freedom is not necessarily one that is available to non-artists. Although we may not see direct evidence of this in another world, it may already be happening at a personal level, and it may take some time for this personal knowledge to make its way into the realm of shared knowledge and shared understanding. The overall significance of this conclusion is that looking at the non-artistic knowledge claims of the journalist through the artistic lens of another world enables us to better understand the factors that cause radicalization. This in turn suggests that there may be more general benefits to switching between areas of knowledge in the pursuit of knowledge. Perhaps when a knower is stuck following one line of inquiry in a given AOK, they may be able to break the deadlock that they are facing by approaching their question with the skill set or from the perspective of another area of knowledge. Our conclusions here perhaps also suggest that governments should attempt to fund arts programs as much as they fund programs of scientific research, and that scientific research centers should make greater efforts to incorporate the methods of the arts and other areas of knowledge into their methodology.
That's the end of our presentation. Thank you for watching. Here's our work cited. And we also wanted to point out that during the planning of our presentation, we came up with a number of ideas and pieces of information that we couldn't in the end use because of time constraints. We decided to keep this information and just put it at the end of our presentation so you can see some of the brainstorming and some of the ideas that went into the preparation of this screencast. Bear in mind that this screencast might actually be the basis for your real presentation in grade 12. So keep all of that information that you use, or that you haven't been able to use, sorry. Keep all of that information that you've done research into but that didn't fit into the final presentation because it might come in useful in future. Thank you very much.